Welcome to pre-op. Glad you guys made it. I am Michelle. I'm the dietitian here at Surgical Weight Control Center. Today we're going to talk about all the things you guys are going to need to know for after surgery care for all of your liquids, okay? So if you go ahead, get out your booklet, we're going to, upside down, there we go. We're going to go ahead and go through this today, okay? All right, so first and foremost, our nutrition goals, number one is fluid. Getting dehydrated is your number one reason to go back to the hospital, so we gotta stay on our liquids. Protein will be our main source of nutrition from here on out, so we wanna make sure we're getting our protein as well. Bowels, we want healthy bowel movements, and we'll speak about that more. And vitamins and minerals, you sign up for those for the rest of your life starting 2 weeks after surgery. So a permanent change is happening to your body. No matter what procedure you're getting, your stomach is literally getting smaller. So the amount of food or fluid that you can put in at one time is reduced, putting you at a higher risk for nutrient deficiency simply because you can't eat very much. Everything you eat, you'll absorb in such a small amount. That's why we're going to have to take our vitamins and minerals. You're also at a higher risk for dehydration. You can no longer chug a bottle of water again. You got to be sipping all day long in order to get those fluids in. You might get nauseated after surgery, you might throw up once. Well, you're not going to break anything if that happens. But if you're continually nauseated, you're not going to be getting your fluids, and therefore you're going to get dehydrated. So if you're feeling nauseous, make sure you let somebody know so that they can help you out with that. So you have some fluid and protein goals, varies per sex and height, but base goals for everyone will be 90 grams of protein a day and 90 fluid ounces. Once again, 90 grams of protein per day and 90 fluid ounces. That is your goal each and every day. But if you're a little bit taller, a little bit shorter, you might get a little bit more or less. The progression for these goals is going to take time. Day of surgery, please don't try and down 90 fluid ounces. That's going to hurt. When you wake up from surgery, think of it as your training day. You're teaching yourself how to sip. You might think, I know how to sip. It's a whole new ballgame after surgery. Think of everything as very, very hot liquid, and those are the tiny sips that you're going to be taking. Be careful, though, because if you're like, possibility that you're going to get a big air bubble, and that's going to cause discomfort. And then you're going to burp, and maybe some fluids will come up with it. Don't freak out if that happens. But if you're burping a lot, you're causing yourself discomfort, and you're drinking a lot of air, so you want to decrease that. So the next day when you are still in the hospital, you're going to be given tracking sheets to make sure that you're getting adequate intake. Before you go home, your goal is to get 4 ounces an hour for about 3 hours, and then you can go. So don't lie to them and be like, hey, I'm getting 4 ounces, but it's only 2, because then you're going to end up back there dehydrated, right? So there's a method to all the madness that we have you guys do. So very important to track your intake. They will give you sheets in the hospital, and when you go home, I need you to continue tracking because we want to ensure you're getting more and more every single day. And if you don't track, you really won't understand how much you're getting, just because you're not going to feel as hungry, you're not going to feel thirsty like you would today, because, that's part of your surgery. So signs and symptoms of dehydration, again, it's our number one concern. Decrease urine color. Right? If it's lemonade or lighter, you're okay. But if it begins to darken, you're becoming dehydrated. You need to push those fluids. Dry mouth, cracked lips are also going to be signs of dehydration. And really, you're going to feel dry before your urine changes color. So if at any point you're feeling dry, you really need to increase those fluids. So moral of the story, find a water bottle you love. It's your new fashion accessory. Yay! All right, so there's an example of a fluid and protein tracker. Like I mentioned, you're going to get one in the hospital, and you're going to be check marking every single ounce. Once you go home, I find these are a little tedious to be using. So this one's a little bit easier, fluid on one side, protein on the other. So you drink maybe 8 ounces of liquid, you go ahead, write 8 ounces down on there. It'll just be a little easier to track that instead of trying to track every single ounce. Most likely you're going to miss something. Another thing I recommend doing, especially in the beginning, the first week, it's the toughest time to get your liquids in. So I do recommend having smaller cups. That could be the little 8-ounce cup that they gave you in the hospital. That could be the little 8-ounce water bottles. But having that smaller amount will allow it to be easier, and you're going to feel more successful. Like, okay, I finished that 8 ounces. Let me write that down. Let me fill that back up. All right, we can do this. Instead of having a big bottle, you're going to get overwhelmed by that amount, feeling like I'm never going to finish that. So get the smaller ones. It's going to make your transition a lot easier, especially in those first couple weeks. All right, let's talk about bowels for a little bit. So fiber. If you're currently taking any sort of fiber supplementation now, you will need to stop that for the first 3 weeks after surgery. So that's anything like Benefiber, chia seeds, flax seeds, anything like that, we're not going to take for at least 3 weeks after surgery. The only type of fiber we can do in those first few weeks is a non-expansive fiber. Easiest way to do this is like a Fiber One cereal. No, you don't get a bowl of cereal, but you get to crush it up, add a half a teaspoon to maybe your protein shake, your Jell-O, sugar-free pudding, whatever you might be doing. A few times a day, it's going to keep things moving. It's not a whole lot of fiber, but in the beginning, when all you're on is liquids, it's going to keep your bowel movements going. After those initial few weeks, we will have to increase our fiber, and we will start a supplementation of things like Benefiber, and we will speak about that after surgery. Now, constipation can happen. However, it is very normal not to have a bowel movement for the first 3 to 5 days after surgery. Anesthesia, pain medications, we mess your GI tract, different reasons for this. So we definitely do recommend the first couple of days at your home to take a stool softener such as Colace. Now, it's not going to give you diarrhea or anything, but it's going to keep your bowels moving. So in the beginning, when you're not drinking very much, your colon doesn't have any excess fluid to reabsorb to help you poop. We talk about poop a lot. Get used to it. It's okay. But with that Colace, it's going to help soften that up and allow you to go and pass that bowel movement more easily. Another thing to have on hand in case you get to the point that you feel like you need to poop and you can't, Miralax. It's an easy laxative that works very well for our patients. Again, this is not to take daily. This is to take if you become the point that you feel like you need to poop and you can't. Or it's day 6 post-op and you have yet to have a bowel movement, go ahead, take a dose of Miralax to help that process go. Everyone's favorite topic, right? In the morning. Okay, so flip side of constipation is diarrhea. You can take an over-the-counter anti-diarrheal. However, majority of the time it's not diarrhea and it's just a loose bowel movement. So when all you are doing is drinking liquids, you should expect a liquidy output. So if you have a loose stool 1 to 4 times a day, you're fine, nothing to worry about. But if you have a loose bowel movement 20 times, if you have a loose bowel movement all day, that's kind of not going to be very good because that's going to be the dehydrating diarrhea that we don't want, okay? So if you have that, then you could take an over-the-counter anti-diarrheal, but otherwise pay attention to what you're drinking because some things after surgery aren't going to sit well with your stomach. So if at any point you drink something and within 5 minutes you're running to the bathroom, it's not sitting well with you, stop drinking those. Also keep in mind, things like sugar alcohols can cause diarrhea. Now, these are typically used in sugar-free products like sugar-free Jell-O, sugar-free pudding. These types of things will have sugar alcohols in it. Now, don't worry if you have 1 or 2 in a day, you're going to be fine. But if you decide, I'm going to eat 6 Jell-Os today, you're going to get diarrhea. Please don't eat 6, okay? 1 or 2, no problem. Now, let's talk about what you really want to know. What are you doing after surgery? Yay, liquids! Woohoo! Yay, so excited! Yeah! All right, why do we put you on a liquid diet? Oh, because we're mean and we want you to see you drink liquids. No, it's imperative for healing. With any of these procedures, you just change your stomach. You put staples in, you chopped it off, you changed it. You need to allow it to heal. These 2 weeks, the initial 2 weeks, are imperative for our scar tissue to begin forming over that staple line. If you decide day 6, I feel really good, I'm gonna start eating, you are risking a leak. Now a leak is emergency surgery. Who wants emergency surgery? Nobody, right. So yay, liquids, we can do this, it's gonna be awesome. I know thinking about going on a liquid diet now is tough. You're irritable, you may be shaky, you're really hungry, like this is not fun. Well, after surgery, again, part of the surgery is reducing your hunger hormone. So therefore, you're not gonna feel the hunger nor the thirst you would have before, making this a little bit easier. So you guys will be on a full liquid diet for 2 weeks. So you may have read on different blogs that you're going to be on clear liquids for like a week or 2. Not the case for you guys. You guys are on full liquids from the get-go. You will even be given a protein shake in the hospital. So some examples of what these full liquids will be, your protein powders, your pre-made protein drinks, water, skim milk, Crystal Light, unsweetened almond milk, any low-calorie fluid that you enjoy, you're going to be totally fine to have that during those first 2 weeks. Please, no fruit juice. Fruit juice is very high sugar. We don't want to be just drinking sugar, okay? A type of food that you can have is yogurt. Now, this doesn't mean, oh, yogurt land, yeah! No, guys, that is just pretend ice cream, okay? We want to do things like Greek yogurt. Now, the most popular among my patients is going to be Oikos 000. It's one in that black container. I do prefer you get plain, but if you're like, oh, plain's gross. Couple things we can do for that. We can add some Crystal Light powder to it. We could add a little bit of our flavored protein powder to it to give it some taste. Keep in mind, though, Greek yogurt is thicker. So you do need to thin it down to allow you to tolerate that. And within that first week post-op, you might not try it just because, again, it is thick. So that might be something you wait till the second week. Then also sugar-free Jell-O and sugar-free pudding, again, totally fine for you to be having during these first couple weeks. Now, one of the best things to have on hand is going to be broth. So while all these other things sound great, sweetness gets really annoying really fast after surgery. And your senses are heightened, so your tastes are heightened. So anything you might think is kind of sweet now typically tends to be more sweet after surgery. So you want that broth, that savory flavor. So any low sodium broth that you like is going to be a great option to have on hand. I do recommend you make homemade broth. The stuff in the can and the box is fine, but I can guarantee it doesn't taste as good as a nice homemade broth. So if you make like a nice chicken vegetable soup, take the chicken and the veggies out, put them in the freezer for later, you got a nice broth to drink off of. So any kind of stew you want, maybe it's a beef stew, whatever kind of thing sounds good, awesome, just strain it out, none of those chunks. Don't make it too spicy either. Seasoning a little bit is fine, but nothing too overly spicy or overly seasoned. Your new tummy, you don't know if it's going to like that or not, so you want to go a little bit more bland than you would have before. So with all of these liquids, during the first week, I want you to think the consistency of anything easily fitting through a straw. No, it doesn't mean I need you to use a straw. That's just the consistency I want you to think, very watery. Sometimes the pre-made shakes feel too thick in the beginning. Add water, that's fine. As long as you finish that volume, you're gonna get all that protein. Your protein powders will typically tell you to mix with anywhere from 4 to 8 fluid ounces. Well, I recommend you mix that with 10 to 14 fluid ounces. It's going to decrease that intensity of taste, thin it down, and allow you to tolerate that more easily. All right, a few things that we're not going to do during the first 2 weeks. We're not going to put anything in our mouth we have to chew. I really don't care how soft it is. No cottage cheese, no avocado, no eggs, no. If it starts solid for 14 days, the answer is no. Now, somebody might tell you, you can have a thin cream of wheat. Well, here's the deal. Yeah, you would probably tolerate a really thin cream of wheat, but you take 2 or 3 spoonfuls, now you're full for 3 hours, knock it in your liquids, and now you're dehydrated. So please, just stick with your liquids. You're gonna feel the best. The more fluid you can get in after surgery, the better you feel, the better you heal. Kind of rhymes. All right, so other thing, don't weigh your liquids, okay? In the hospital, again, they're very much gonna be pushing 4 ounces, 4 ounces, 4 ounces. Well, don't stop there unless you feel full. So the only time I ever want you guys to stop drinking is if you feel full or uncomfortable. Once that passes, keep going. Now, there's a happy place that all of you will need to find that will be different for each of you, which is how many sips can I take? I don't feel uncomfortable. I can wait a few minutes and take that many sips again. So maybe you're starting out, you took a few sips, you feel fine, weren't even thinking about it, you took a 4th sip. All of a sudden, you get this like tightness and uncomfortableness and don't feel great. Well, 4 sips was too many for you. 3 sips might be your happy place. So stick with the 3, take your break, and keep going. Now again, everyone is very different with the amount of sips and how long they have to wait in between. So it is a trial and error. You got to figure it out for yourself, but it's a very important thing to do because you need to constantly be drinking. If you take a couple hours off after surgery, you're going to be dehydrated and go back to the hospital. And nobody wants another IV. It always takes more than 1 shot. And that is not a fun time. All right, so some protein supplements to reiterate what I've been talking about. So maybe some high protein milk. So you have a protein powder. If it's flavors like vanilla and chocolate and strawberry, typically we expect a creaminess to that shake. Well, if you mix vanilla with water, it's kind of like watery vanilla and it's kind of gross. But if you use things like unsweetened almond milk or a skim milk, it's gonna give you that creamy texture that you're looking for. My personal preference is a chocolate protein powder with an unsweetened almond milk. Again, about 12 ounces of that almond milk gives it a nice texture and not too strong of a flavor. High protein fruit punch. This is not the sugar-laden fruit punch. This is like a Crystal Light. Any sugar-free drink mixes that you like, great, we can add protein to that. So we would get an unflavored protein powder and mix a scoop of that with that flavoring that you enjoy, giving you a taste you like with protein. Keep in mind, unflavored protein powder, while yes, it's unflavored, it still has a taste. So we do need to mess with the amount of flavoring that we're adding to make it taste right. High protein broth. So the way that we can add protein to broth is not taking a big old scoop of protein powder and dumping it in your hot broth. That's not gonna work well. We take a scoop of unflavored powder. We mix it with a 1/4 cup of water. Mix it up really good. Let it settle. Warm up your broth. When your broth is warm, add a couple spoonfuls of that mixture to your broth. It's gonna mix just fine and add some protein. If you dump the whole thing, it's gonna taste really weird. So just a little bit. If you heat up protein powder, it's gonna get clumpy and gross. And you'd be like, why would you tell me to do that? I'll say I didn't. It's gross, okay? So you wanna mix a little bit at a time. So there's a few main types of protein out there, just so you guys are aware. So whey protein is going to be the most readily available. If you've bought a protein supplement, most likely it is whey protein. Now, whey protein is a protein from milk. It's completely lactose-free, so even if you are lactose intolerant, you should do fine with whey protein. But it's readily available, it tastes good, it mixes well, and really important, it is a complete protein. Now, what that means, complete proteins are, well, protein themselves are made of amino acids. There are 22 in total. 9 of them are essential. Our body can't make them, we have to ingest them, but with those 9, we can make the rest, and whey protein does have all 9 essential amino acids. A side note with whey protein, if you are lactose intolerant, I do highly recommend that you stick with protein powders. Pre-made protein drinks oftentimes have other milk products in there, causing some upset for most of my patients that have lactose intolerance. So again, if you're lactose intolerant, I do prefer and recommend that you stick with the powders. Now, if you've tried 8 different whey protein brands and just not feeling right, getting bloated, gassy, not amazing, the next type of protein powder I would tell you to try is going to be an egg white protein. Now, this is not the liquid egg whites from the store. That's gross. It's a powder, a lot like that whey protein, also does have flavors. Also a complete protein, very important. So the only time I've really had that not work for a patient is if they were allergic to eggs. Now, if for whatever reason that doesn't work, soy protein would be the last one I tell you to try. These 3 types of protein, again, are complete proteins. And when all we are doing is drinking our nutrition, we have to make sure they are complete. Plant-based proteins like a pea protein or a hemp protein are not complete. They don't have all our essential amino acids. So again, when all we are doing is drinking our nutrition, we have to make sure they're complete. If you are a vegan or vegetarian, reach out to us and we will get you some other options, okay? All right, next I have a little grocery list of some stuff to have on hand before surgery. This includes things like pre-made protein drinks, protein powders, your unsweetened almond milk, or any unsweetened nut milk. I know oat milk is a big thing right now. Please stay away from that. There's a lot of added sugar to that. Skim milk is also going to be okay. Fiber One Cereal Original, again, not for a bowl of cereal, but to crush it up, make it a powder, and add a half a teaspoon to stuff a few times a day. And then anything that tastes good. But please, please believe me, your tastes are going to change. What? She's crazy. It happens, okay? Even if you still enjoy the same protein shake that you're drinking now, think about drinking it all day for 2 weeks. You're gonna get sick of it after day 1.5. It's really, really important to have variety. I like to put it in food terms. Maybe you really enjoy eggs. Well, what if I tell you, you know, the only thing you can eat for 2 weeks are eggs? You think you can eat them again? No, you're like never gonna be able to eat eggs again. Same idea with your protein supplements. Your protein supplements are your food. You need different types and textures and variety to be able to really make it through more easily through these 2 weeks. Oh, let's talk about caffeine. All right, I got some caffeine drinkers in the house. Yeah, right. So guess what you get to do? You get to get off of caffeine. I know you're excited. All right. So why do we have to get off of caffeine? Because caffeine is a diuretic. Once again, dehydration is our #1 concern. Caffeine makes it worse. So if you're drinking caffeine, you're just peeing out the little bit of fluid you're getting. Not okay. So for at least the first month, absolutely no caffeine. No coffee, no caffeinated tea, none of that stuff, none. After a month, we can talk about caffeine consumption again, but for that first month, none. So if you are still currently drinking caffeine, please get off of it now, because caffeine withdrawal headaches are not a fun time. And if you wait until the day of surgery, you're gonna have a killer caffeine withdrawal headache with surgical pains, and it's not gonna be a fun time. Please don't wait, because pain medicine doesn't touch a caffeine withdrawal headache. So please get off of the caffeine now, go through that headache beforehand. So if it's been a month after surgery and you're like, okay, I'm drinking my fluids, can I have a little bit of caffeine? Okay, we can try a little bit of coffee at home. See if you even like it. I have coffee lovers turn into coffee haters. Don't be like, ooh, Starbucks Venti latte. No, a little bit of coffee at home. You don't even know if you like it. Also, the first month, absolutely no type of coffee, whether it's decaf, coffee flavored, regular, If it is coffee, no, because it's very acidic. It's going to cause you acid reflux. We don't want that. We don't want to feel uncomfortable during this healing process, and any kind of coffee would aid in that uncomfortableness, okay? Now, decaf tea is great. Decaf black tea, decaf green tea, and herbal tea, wonderful options. If you do need to sweeten your tea, feel free to use things like stevia or monk fruit, okay? But try it first, because again, our senses are heightened. It might be sweet enough without that sweetener. Now, fluid temperatures are going to feel different on your stomach. Your stomach is a muscle. Cold and hot feels different on the outside. It's going to feel different on the inside. Typically, ice cold liquid feels really tight, constricting. You can't drink very much. Warm fluids relaxes that stomach and allows you to drink more. So we do recommend starting with room temperature to warm liquids. Do not start with ice cold water. It is very, very rare for that to feel good in the beginning. So don't start there. Room temp to warm. Some patients are so sensitive to it that even a fridge cold protein shake, they need to let warm up to room temperature before they can tolerate that. So you're going to have to play with those fluid temperatures. Ice chips are different. You melt them in your mouth before you swallow, so that's going to be fine. Same thing with sugar-free popsicles. Those are fine. Not sugar-free fudgesicles, though. Come on now. Sugar-free popsicles, just like a Crystal Light that's frozen, basically. Those are going to be fine, again, because you're going to melt them in your mouth before you swallow. But don't start with ice cold water. If you really love ice cold stuff, you will get back there. It's just going to take time as that stomach heals and understands its new kind of life. All right, now let's talk about our vitamins. So after our 2 weeks of liquids, we're going to start our vitamin regime when we do start food. So vitamins and minerals are essential for the rest of your life. For the rest of your life, you have a tiny tummy. For the rest of your life, you're not eating very much. If you don't supplement properly, you will run into vitamin and mineral deficiencies in the future. So we want to make sure we're taking proper vitamins. We want to take specific vitamins for bariatrics, but unfortunately not all bariatric vitamins are created equal. The unfortunate part about supplementation in general is that the FDA really doesn't regulate it unless they find out, ooh, that's sand, or oops, somebody died, let me take that off the shelf. So we have to make sure that we're getting high quality vitamins. One company that I will always recommend is called Bariatric Advantage. They've been around for over 30 years. Every single thing they sell has been tested with bariatric patients, ensuring tolerance and absorption. One of their multivitamins, gonna have everything you need. It's chewable, you'll take 2 a day. Very, very simple. So nothing too crazy, no handfuls of pills. Because if you try and take a handful of pills, ooh, that's gonna hurt. Right? Because you have a tiny tummy, right? So no handfuls of pills. We want chewable. That makes life a lot easier. Along with that multivitamin, you're also going to need calcium. Now this calcium needs to be calcium citrate with vitamin D3. If you buy a random over-the-counter calcium, you're most likely going to get what's called calcium carbonate. Now after surgery, you're not going to absorb calcium carbonate. You don't have enough stomach acid. So we do need to make sure it's calcium citrate. I will be giving you information about the specific vitamins that I do recommend, but again, make sure you're getting calcium citrate. And we do want chewable because calcium pills are horse pills. And again, tiny system, we don't want horse pills. They don't feel good. So now let's go over what we're going to do after our liquids. So you got 2 weeks of liquids and then we move on to soft food. Not even pureed, no baby food, nothing like that. You're gonna be super excited about it, okay? So day 15, you get to eat, happy dance. All right, it's breakfast time. You're like, ooh, I want 3 eggs. You're so funny, 3 eggs? That'd be ridiculous. How about only 1? Cook it however you want, just not fried up in bacon grease, please. And then you're gonna take your toddler fork, you're gonna take a pea-sized bite, and you're gonna chew it till you can't chew it anymore. I know it's egg, but you have to chew it until it's basically dissolved and you can just swallow. Once you do that, wait a few minutes, make sure it's settled. If it did, keep going. Pea-sized bite, literal pea-sized bite, and chew it till applesauce consistency. The moment you feel full, about halfway through your egg, stop. If you keep going, you're like a full water bottle. You're overfilling. There's no space, okay? So you will get full after about 1 ounce of food in the beginning. Once again, pea-sized bite, chew it to death. One of the most important things to remember during these first couple weeks when you're starting foods. Now, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you're gonna try new protein-based soft foods. You're not eating 4, 5, 6 times a day. That's gonna be way too much because we have to drink our liquids between our meals. Because guys, your goals of 90 ounces a day and 90 grams of protein stays with you. So you still need to drink your water and your protein supplements in between meals. So there's some examples of some soft foods. If you try vegetables, make sure they're cooked. Raw veggies will be way too hard to digest in the beginning. Hummus is great, but no pita chips and no raw veggies. Eggs are good, of course. And then nut butters. These are not Nutter Butters. These are not cookies. I'm talking about things like peanut butter or almond butter, the natural kind that separates that you have to stir. And it's not for a spoonful. It's to put some in your protein shake. Also reminds me, things like peanut butter powder, the PB2, PB Fit. You are welcome to use that during the first 2 weeks to add different flavors to your protein shakes, maybe your yogurts, different things like that. So again, you're welcome to use those powdered peanut butters during the first 2 weeks. Save the real stuff for after. Tofu, beans, cottage cheese, lean ground meats, and fish. So ground and shredded meats will be the way that you're going to tolerate them after surgery. So if you do not have a crock pot or a pressure cooker, I highly recommend getting one because it's going to make it nice and broken down, much easier for you to tolerate. But once again, no matter what, pea-sized bite, chew it to death. Toddler forks, I'm very serious about this because if you get a big fork, pea-sized bite, it's pretty sad. So we want the little stuff, and they're colorful, maybe your favorite character. Hey, we all got them, it's okay. If you don't want to admit it, get them, okay? Get those little utensils, little plates. It makes it a lot easier to do this after surgery. And the little spoons are nice during the 2 weeks when you're doing things like yogurts or puddings. You want the little utensils. No matter how silly it feels, it really, really makes a difference. So eventually you will be doing 3 meals consisting of 4 ounces. So your 4-ounce plate will be 3 ounces of protein-based food and 1 ounce of fruits or veggies. You always need to be taking 3 bites of protein to 1 bite of anything else and stop when you're done so you get more protein. Also, you guys need to weigh your food. If you do not own a food scale, you need to get one. Weigh our food after it's cooked because every ounce of our animal protein is going to give us about 7 grams of protein. And if you have no idea how much you ate, you have no idea how much protein you got, therefore you don't know how much protein you need to supplement. So we need to weigh our food, weigh it after cooked, before you eat it. And continue drinking your water between meals and your protein supplements as needed, okay? All right, so I want to talk about reading our nutrition facts labels to make sure you guys understand how to read these. Hopefully you guys have been looking at your facts labels more often lately, but if not, let's go through how to look at these. So the first thing on any label we want to look at is our serving size. So the serving size correlates with everything else on the label. This example that I have for you guys is of peanut butter. Now the serving size of peanut butter is only 2 tablespoons. Now normally with peanut butter, we go in our drawer, we grab that big spoon, we go scoop. That's 2 tablespoons, right? Guys, it's 4. I've measured so many people's and it's always 4 tablespoons. Your eyeballs lie to you constantly. We need to measure. So with anything, measuring cups, measuring spoons, the food scale, we gotta measure our stuff. So, okay, peanut butter. We take our 2 tablespoons, 2 level tablespoons. Then we can take everything else for what it is. 188 calories, 6 grams of carbs, and 8 grams of protein. Wonderful. And if I did my scoop that gave me 4 tablespoons, I'd have to double all of those numbers. Holy crap, that's a lot, right? So again, we really need to pay attention to that. And all of you too are going to get different types of protein. Now, I know a lot of the supplements out there, but I can't know all of them. So it is your job to understand how much protein you're drinking. Because one of the things when you guys come back in for your post-op visit, we will be asking you how many grams of protein are you drinking? If you just come in and say, I don't know, 3 scoops, you need to know how much is in there. So look at your label. If it is a protein powder, the serving size is going to be 1 scoop. Check out those carbohydrates and that protein and make sure you know those numbers. If you need to bring along a facts label with you so we can go over that together, not a problem, but please make sure you understand how much you're intaking because we don't want you being too much or too little. We want to get you right in that right spot, okay? Also, read your ingredients. The shortest ingredient list that you can find is best, right? There's going to be less additives and less processing to that. You want to be able to understand everything in your food product because if you can't, it's like a sugar or a chemical, and we really ideally don't want to be doing that. Okay, so read your labels, pay attention to those facts labels. Again, feel free to bring them in so we can review them together during post-op visits, okay? Okay, so some myths or truths that you might have seen or heard or looked up on YouTube. Can you use a straw? The deal with a straw, it's very, very easy to gulp with a straw, and you don't know you gulped until it hurts. So in the beginning, the first week, I ask you no straws because I want you to figure out your sip with a cup and a bottle. Now, no sippy cups, you're not toddlers. You can figure it out with a cup, okay? After that first week, when you understand how much liquid is in your mouth that you can tolerate, you are welcome to try a straw. It's not gonna put a whole bunch of air and explode the stomach like it was once thought. Nothing crazy like that will happen, okay? Gum, can you chew gum? Here's the deal. Gum is very, very sticky. If you swallow gum, you can cause issues. But if it's sugar-free gum, you promise spit it out at the end, I'm totally fine with you having a piece or 2 a day. That's fine. However, some patients do trap a lot of air and it causes discomfort. If that happens, please don't chew gum. Carbonation. Bye-bye. This is the one thing you completely have to say goodbye to, okay? Yes, it's forever, because forever your stomach's tiny. If you try and put 1,000 bubbles in there, it's gonna hurt and cause you vomiting. So this is the one thing you have to completely say goodbye to. So if you have not yet said goodbye to carbonation, please do so this week, okay? This is forever. And please don't think, well, then I'll just leave my soda out on the counter for an hour. It'll go flat, that'll be fine. No, man. Soda and energy drinks are terrible for you. They shouldn't pass anyone's lips, so just say goodbye to them. Alcohol. All right, a few things with alcohol. Alcohol doesn't help anybody in a weight loss journey. A whole lot of empty calories, okay? Secondly, a lot of it's gonna be carbonated. Your beer, champagne, sparkling cider, sparkling anything, sorry, those are gone. Lastly, you're gonna be a super cheap date. Half a drink? All right, so while that may be fun, we do recommend that you wait at least 6 months before thinking about having an alcoholic beverage. You're losing the most amount of weight. You are not eating very much. If you start drinking, you're gonna feel crappy and you're not gonna have the weight loss success that you could. So please hold off. So if it's been 6 months, you're like, okay, I wanna have a cocktail after dinner. Because if you have it before dinner, you're gonna get drunk and forget to eat, and that's not cool. And remember, we don't drink any liquids while we eat, so it would be after. All right, so a summary of what we learned. So first 14 days, drink as much as possible. So I know we talked about a lot of different options that we can have during these first 2 weeks, but to make it really, really simple, the only things you guys have to drink is water and protein. Everything else is for variety. While you're welcome to drink everything else, keep it simple if you want, water and protein. Now your goals, again, 90 ounces a day and 90 grams of protein. By a week post-op, the bare minimum that I expect you to be built up to is 64 fluid ounces per day and 60 grams of protein. If you're doing more, that is fantastic. If you're doing less, you're feeling awful and on the verge of dehydration, going back to the hospital. So again, by a week post-op, you should easily be drinking 64 fluid ounces a day and 60 grams of protein. Day 15, happy dance, you get to eat. Woohoo, so excited. Most important thing to remember is pea-sized bite and chew it to death. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, try a new protein-based soft food. Okay, and we will be going through more in-depth information about that food when you come into the office for post-op. All right, what I have next for you is a variety of protein supplements to get you through about those 2 weeks. So a supplement store that I do recommend and like is the Vitamin Shop. Now you guys don't have to go here, but I like them because they have a lot of variety, really good prices, and another really cool thing about the Vitamin Shop, if you buy a tub of powder and end up not liking it, they take it back. Very rare to find, so that's a really cool thing. So let me just go through what I have for you. So I recommend you get at least 1 small tub of protein powder. Get a flavor that sounds good, right? Also, if they do have samples, which is fantastic, which often the Vitamin Shop does, buy 4 or 5 different flavors so you can figure out what you like and tolerate, okay? With your small tub, if you need to buy that, I do recommend flavors like vanilla or cake batter, because then you can change the taste. You can put that peanut butter powder to it. You could put different extracts in it. You can make it taste different. If you buy chocolate, it's always chocolate. So then if you don't like it, you're kind of stuck, because honestly, who takes stuff back? We like to say we would, but it doesn't happen. And then we want to get some protein waters. So you may have seen these clear protein drinks coming out, popping up every day. I feel like there's new ones, but they are fruity flavors, they're watery consistency. They're gonna have like 15 to 20 grams of protein in them. You want to get 4 or 5 different ones to see if those are gonna help you through. Also something you could dilute into water to flavor your water in a different way. And then pre-made protein drinks, get a few of those as well. Get 4 or 5 different pre-made protein drinks to, again, see if you like them. Once again, variety is so important. I don't want you to only have one type of protein. You're gonna get sick of it. That's a trust me kind of deal. And then unflavored protein powder. So I mentioned sweetness is tough. We want that unflavored, so we have the option of really changing that taste. Isopure is a great brand that makes a wonderful unflavored protein powder. You will find this at the Vitamin Shop as well, or on their website. That's totally fine. You may have read on blogs about a brand called Gen Pro. Now, do not buy Gen Pro. They are lying about the amount of protein that's in there. Please don't buy it. And then also just, again, more protein waters. So I want you to have a decent variety of protein waters, some different protein powders, and pre-made protein drinks to really get you through those first couple weeks, figuring out what you like and tolerate. And then once you figure out what you like and works well, then feel free to buy bulk. Another thing you're going to need is a shaker bottle. So when you have powder and liquid, if you put it in the blender, it's going to get frothy and airy and undrinkable. You want the bottle to have the ball, it looks like a whisk. You're going to put it in there, shake it up really good. It's going to mix just fine. Keep in mind, all protein powders that you're going to mix get a little bit frothy. just let it sit for a few minutes. It'll go away. It'll be easier for you to drink. All right, thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to call the office. Have a wonderful day.